the art of pruning is hiding your cuts. If you see where we've been here, there's, once those heal over, it looked like nothing was done. Right. And if you read books on pruning, they always tell you never cut the collar. And I cut all the collars.
Oh, you do? Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what the creator told me was pretty awesome. So I asked him about that. He says, I made a line. Cut to the line. Pretty simple.
So you cut it right flush with the...
And here's the benefit. Look how nice it, look you see how beautiful it heals?
Yeah.
Look at all these places I've made cuts in the past. Look how they heal. Look at that.
Right.
Where you've seen where they cut beyond the crown and leave a stump out there.
Right.
All these suckers come out and it never heals and it rots and you have a cavity.
Oh, wow.
And it's ugly.
Cutting
clean, it heals beautiful, it looks nice, you have no stumps, and I made a line, cut to the line. It's so...
So you just cut flush with the bigger branch.
Yeah, see, and you can just see put your saw right there and come straight across.
Right.
It's like, there's a line. And it's just, and it's so bizarre, the stuff they tell you, man. You're like, where do you get that, man? It's dumb, it looks ugly and doesn't work, and they keep doing it. And tools are important. There's only two you need for pruning is a good saw and hand pruners. Never use loppers.
Right.
Because there's a jaw and you can't get close.
Right.
And you leave stumps. And basically it's just arranging. You see how everything's just coming out. Nothing's going up. Pruning is simply arranging everything fitting in its place. Now these trees are unusual, because they're all bent over, but that's the effect of the compost because the apple's so heavy it bends all the branches down. Most trees are coming up. And something that I was really blessed. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 50s, where the really beautiful places were being maintained by Japanese gardeners. That's who did it. And the Japanese, from my perspective, are the finest pruners on the planet as a culture. And there's a reason for that. In Japan, there's no room for things to get big. It's a very small place. And because of that, they have to master the art of pruning because they have no option. They have to keep it small. And because they've had to, they really developed it. And what's interesting in that culture is that all Europeans prune from the outside in. You know what I'm talking about? They're out there hacking, back in. Where the Japanese prune from the inside out. Which makes such sense. Because you see, everything's coming out from the inside out, and when you get the inside, you start opening up and getting all the crossovers and stuff, all of a sudden everything starts making sense. If you start hacking out here, when you get to the center, you don't even get into it because and you got this major clutter mess. So it's just, again, the wisdom inside out, instead of outside in.
I think I've intuitively done that before,
Because, you look at all this, and you see when you get in the inside, you can see where all the crossovers are. So it's very obvious what comes out. When you get all the obvious out, and the rest is much simpler. When you start at the outside hacking coming in, and you get to all this mess, you think, like, now what do I do? And you got this big pile of brush there and everything. So you just quit. And you leave all this mess. Nice and flat.
Okay, so anything that's pointing up.
Pointing up and down. Again, just
up and down. So
again, you want things in nice layers. So stuff crossing through, is cluttered. So you just it's simply arranging. Now you see this. Now what I have here, I've got a lot of density. So what I always do is take centers out. See, this is in the middle of this density. So I'll take this out of the middle, and you'll see how that just really opens that space up. All of a sudden, now we're not cluttered. You see, and you see this piece here, it crosses over that one, and so I'm going to take again the center out. So that opens that space up. You see, this is heading up, and so just get rid of it. You see how this is crossing into that place, so you see how that is. Now my sense this is going up, so I'm just going to take it back into here because this flows nicer instead of that.
Right.
And again, it's an art form. It's simply arranging.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everything having its place and looking good. I see how this is. So I'll take this whole center out. That just flows out. See how that's crossing into that. So I'll take this out. Hi. Good morning. You see, this is just Too much clutter in there. You see, I prune my trees open because I'm trying to reduce the amount of fruit I get.
So you're getting bigger and better fruit.
Yeah.
It's selective
And
fruit.
so instead of me having to go out and thin, I just open up. And so I reduce, what I can hang fruit on. So that just saves me the whole process of thinning later on.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm just telling you look at, what I left here, it looks really thin, but just believe me, man, comes next year, man, it just totally fills in.
I'm amazed at the height. It's astounding.
It's convenient. You never
Yeah.
I love it. Convenience is cool, man. And I had nothing to do with me. It was just it's all about weight. The apples get heavy and they weight everything down.
Now you said that there's a mark that you look for.
Yeah, the collar. You see this line
Yeah,
right here?
I do.
That's the collar. And you can see in all the places where I've cut to the collar, you see how beautifully it heals? Look at that, And it's like, I asked the creator, he says, well, I made a line, cut to the line.
Okay.
It's very, very cool. And see, you're coming, like I say, if your saw's right here, so you come right along the edge there. You just put it right on the edge, you just go straight on across. So it's very, instead of trying to figure out how far beyond it I open space.
Okay.
But you see how this is going back into here? So I'm going to take this off because it's just getting too, I want to have access to my tree to pick fruit. And my sense is these trees are here to serve me, not me them. And so they're going to come into, now see I have no access here, so I'm going to get access. And you can cut myself a path. See, now I can get in. You see here?
Yeah.
I couldn't,
Yeah.
So again, it's just simply arranging to where this fits me, looks good, and it's convenient.
It's like like when you do blackberries and you cut yourself a little swath out of there so you can get in. Here.
Again, it's all about convenience, and I live here, and so we're gonna and I'm in charge, and I'm gonna make it functional. And the tree grows back. It's not like it's done. It's always every year it comes on with new options, and so you get new choices every year.
Right.
Now see, this is going up, and so we don't have any use for that.
So you're leaving everything that goes down.
Look, if you look at, you see everything's flat, nice flat.
Okay.
And it kind of looks nice, and it's also accessible. You don't have something sticking in your face when you go to pick an apple.
So you would cut You would cut this, but you would leave these.
One of those.
One of those. Okay.
But you're getting it. And so as I prune, I want you to anticipate my next cut, so you're tracking.
Well, it would be. It's going to be one of those, you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And I'll tell you, see, this is getting closer to that, so I'm going to always take centers out. Things in the middle, open things up.
Okay.
And you see, that's kind of opposite how you think. Usually the center is the strongest, most, piece. But if it's in the middle, if you cut this side, it's crowded this way. If you cut that side, it's crowded. So cut in center, it's open.
And then when this is bearing, then it will droop down?
Weight works.
Yeah.
Weight really works. Gravity is very, very, very effective.
Okay.
Now you see here we got these.
So these would come out.
Because they're just
These would come out.
Because again these people call these like sucker growth or whatever. Now what I do, if you notice in the center here, I had none of this during the summertime, and I want you both to hear me. Is that when little suckers develop in places you don't want when they first begin, rub them off.
Just rub them.
Yeah,
get your
glove and just rub them off. You
Okay.
need no tool, you leave no wound, and it's really fast. Where if you let it grow, it creates all these leaves, makes all this wood, takes energy from the tree, and shades you don't want. So why let it happen? Do that. If it's in the wrong place up front, get rid of it. So all summer long, I just walk out here in the evenings, just rubbing down my trees with my hands, and keep all these centers cleaned out. And so that really makes it much easier in the pruning process later to deal with them. Instead of having it cut a big piece off, I have nothing because it's just I rub it off. Now see, here's one I didn't get to. But these are the kind of things that you rub off. Because this obviously is never going to have a future. It's just we don't want anything in there because I can't reach it. I'm out here. I don't want to have to fight to get inside here.
Yeah, I'm always afraid of taking too much off, but it looks like you're just going at it.
Now watch it. This is really cool here. I love this as an example. You see, this is coming up, and it's just not cool. but I have this little piece right here going where I want it. So I'm going to take this. You see, this is my future, and so I'm going to go right back to here. And this is where I'm going to let the energy develop into a space growing the direction that I want. And see, now this is just going to fill out really nice. And
that also means that you can walk through here.
Yeah, I can get through here. But you see how that was coming. But see, if you look, always when you go to pruning, you look at what you want to keep, not what you're taking out. You want to, how do I want to finish? And that's where that's your mindset.
And then just clean up.
And everything else gets out of its way.
Yeah.
You know, then instead of thinking like, should I cut that? No, if that's not where I want it, if that's not where I want to finish, it's out of here. So always think of the finish as you're pruning instead of, you know, should I take that? Should I? Just look at, you know, the structure, where everything, and I just look. That's cool, man. That's going where I want. So this stuff's out of here.
About how old is this tree?
This tree here's, I think, is 7 years old.
Okay.
Now these big ones over here, these are like 36 years old.
Did you plant them when you first got here?
Yes, first thing I did when I got here, I planted these trees. Because the owner's manual says when before you build your house, you plant your orchard, garden, and vineyards, because if you can't grow food there, you can't live there.
Yeah.
Kind of smart. You know? Now we live in a culture that doesn't think that way because we have stores and stuff is imported, but that's not real. We should be growing our food, really. You see what I'm going to do here? I'm just going to take all this stuff out because I'm just going to, you know, finish at the nice lateral level that I want.
Do you prop these branches up at all?
Never.
They don't drag right on the ground.
They go on the ground.
They do go on the ground?
I had people come in last year, and a guy says, this is the first time in my life I had to bend over to pick an apple. Usually you're reaching.
Right.
This year, I'm telling you, see, my challenge is, most people are putting their trees down. I have to get mine up. The weight of the branches, I mean, these things are on the ground because they're so heavy. You know, so I have to keep working to get my trees up. It's just opposite of what everybody else is doing, you know, because the weight is so much. You know?
Yeah. So they actually droop right onto the ground.
Oh yeah, like that Mutsu over there. It was just like totally laying flat on the ground. All the branches. It was just so, and it's so hard for me to get it up because it's just, you know, so much weight. Yeah. Now you see this. You see how this is coming in really nicely over here, and this is going to cross over and it's going up. So it's out of here. And you see, this is hard for the novice because they're out thinking like cut back here, but I'm looking at where it's headed, and this is just, you know, and see how that just opened that space up. All of a sudden, it's like, you feel like it can breathe, you know, like, and so don't be afraid to cut. You gotta see. You see, I'm very deliberate, but you know, I've done this once before, so I know where I'm going. Yeah. You know, but I just want you to realize that that's okay, and you can just, if something's in the wrong place, that's not going to change, and so get it out of there. I don't care how big it is. The size isn't the issue. If it's in the wrong place, it's in the wrong place. Yeah. You know, so that's got to change.
So it really doesn't matter how many seasons that branch has maybe been there.
Yeah.
Just it
you
goes.
Know, it's like you see there's a big branch right here on the ground. You see that?
Yeah.
And what I was sharing with him, you see as a tree grows, the wood expands. Are you following me? And in time, you got to take wood out because it just gets too crowded, choking, you know. And that's what's hard for novices. They're always hacking ends. Well, sometimes there's just too much wood. You got to take a big branch out because it's just too much wood there. Right. It's okay. They grow back.
Yeah, I can see what you're doing there. It looks way better. Yeah.
Again, it's an art form. Pruning is an art form. It's simply arranging everything in its place. And the beauty of the creator is that even if you make mistakes, next year it grows back and gives you new options. So it's never done. You never. And I've had trees that I've cut through the ground. If you look over there along that wood pile, there's a grapevine. 2 years ago, that thing died back. It was huge, and I cut it to the ground, and that's 2 years growth. I mean, it's dramatic, you know.
You know, I was just writing about this yesterday when you're saying that there's no, mistakes on it. It's my first, some of my first teachers in my field said, let me know that there's no mistakes. There's just creativity.
Yeah, and it just shows the nature of the Creator. You know, he's so kind and so forgiving, and so I love repentance. All you do is repent, and you get a whole new start again. Now you see this is getting too dense in here, and, and so I'm going to take out a lot right now.
Let's see, I'm going to walk around.
You see how this is you know, it's getting crowded in here. So what I'm going to do is this is huge, but you see how this is just in my face where I want to access that. So
you're going to take that whole thing off?
well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm more than halfway through now.
Okay.
You see how that just freed up that space?
What about that one that's going over?
I'm on my way.
It really feels like a sense of breathing in art.
It is an art form. Pruning is an art form. That's exactly what it is. You got it. You're paying attention. Now if I do something you have a question, be sure to ask. Now you see we're getting close here to where I'm losing my path, and so on both of these I'm going to be restricting. So this is going to come back to here. Now I'm not doing this one today. This one here's called King David, and it's really an awesome variety.
This is your King David?
This one.
Oh, this one is your King David.
And I'm not pruning it because I want to save signwood because everybody wants that.
Okay.
Now if you want signwood, I'll give you some.
When I get my trees in.
Yeah, and all you do is just, it's so cool, man. Were you here last year when I grafted into my trees in April, and in June I had 8 apples on one. It was like, unbelievable.
Wow.
Man. I'm thinking like, what? This is so cool, man.
So this is King David. Huh?
This is King David. It's just the most unique variety. When
so that's part Jonathan. Let's see, that's part.
It's Jonathan. It's a cross between Jonathan and Arkansas Black.
And then Arkansas Black, yeah. I love that dark skin.
And the flavor, it's got the sweet and tart together. And when it freezes, the whole inside is transparent. It's just like it's over the top. An amazing apple. Yeah, you see how this is crossing over into that whole space is going to impede accessing that lower branch. So and you know, I don't know about you, but you could almost feel when that's out of there. It's like you just. The tree just grows.
What about the little one that's underneath there? Right
here?
No. On the branch where your hand is.
Oh, this is what's going to blow you away. That's what I'm going to leave. Everything else is out of here.
See, I would have done just the opposite.
But you see here, look at
But it makes sense.
Look where I'm going.
When I see it.
Yeah. and this is why, you know, you're here today, because I've done this once before. And I'm very confident. I know what I'm doing. And so it's going to give you the freedom like, well, he did it. I can do that. It's in the wrong place. And it's not going to change. And
yeah, then I'll call up Paul after and say, look what it did. It was fabulous.
And you see how this is going into the inside of the tree. And it's going to, again, I can't reach it from here. And so...
You know what this reminds me of is a little kid getting a bowl cut.
Oh. I think it's a little bit more creative than that. I didn't like bowl cuts as a kid.
Well, I can tell I got a lot of work to do when I get home. My trees are wild.
Yeah, and what you do is, like I say, you start in the inside,
right,
and work out. When you have like you're in a situation when you have a tree that's never been dealt with and it's a ton of stuff, you want to limit yourself to 1/3 of the total mass at one time.
Yeah, I've been cutting it for the last 3 years now, and a little at a time.
Yeah, and so like you got to really. Sometimes the first year you just get in the center, open things up, get rid of all the crosses. Next year you start bringing it down. But if you do too much at once, you're going to get tons of sucker growth, and it's just going to be a nightmare to control.
Right.
So you want to, like I say, if it's been neglected for a long time, take it in stages. Don't try to do it all at once.
Right.
Now here's one of those things that's going to blow you away. But I'll explain why. You see here I'm losing my path. You see how this branch is coming underneath here and it's going more over there?
The one on top or the one on the bottom?
This.
Okay.
And so I'm taking this center out. This is in the middle. This is big. And again, these are the kind of things that for someone starting out look like, ugh. But look how that freed that space. Look all of a sudden I'm just open here, you know. And what I'm going to do, because I like this guy here, that's going to come out.
Okay. So this one's coming.
No, this one right here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I like this, and this is on top of it, crossing it. What you're going to find about the art form, this is not a science, it's an art form. So there's multiple options. Yeah. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I am.
It's not 2 + 2 equal, it's multiple options, it's an art form. So that just frees you up. You're going to see things different than I do, and it's okay. We're all the same, and so there's many things you can do to get to the same place,
yeah.
And so it's okay. So that's the beauty of it. That's what I really like, because it's not a science, it's an art. So lots of options. Now you see here we've got a lot of clutter.
So I think, you're gonna.
Well, I'm going to take centers out. See, I got.
So
I
this
got,
is your center.
Yeah, that's in the middle, and so it's coming out. You see how that just freed that whole area up. So when you do this kind of stuff like that, you almost feel like, you just feel like that, just like you took that load off, you know.
So then these smaller ones.
Well, I'm on my way, but I'm
I just like okay.
Now here's something you want to always remember. This is really key. Branches at the top can never go beyond the ones below, ever. If you look at fir trees, look at nature.
Right.
The top branches are always shorter, and the reason for that is light.
Sure.
If this crosses over that, that's not going to get light, and so I'm gonna take this out here. That has that's this. I'm gonna drop this back to here because this is some nice good fruit, and so now I don't have this crossing over, shading. Now I'm going to leave myself a space here because people drive in here all the time, and you know, if I leave it hanging out, they'll hit it and break it. So,
Okay.
so I'm coming
You're
from
thinking ahead for them.
coming from experience. I know I live here. I know what happens. So it's amazing to me how people just have I don't know what their training is, but they just don't have regard for property. It's just they'll just bust stuff. You know, you could walk around that. I don't understand, but I was just raised differently.
Were you raised down in California?
I was, yeah. I grew up in Los Angeles.
I grew up just up the road from you.
Yeah, we lived in a little town, Eagle Rock, between Pasadena and Glendale.
Uh-huh.
And when I was a kid in Los Angeles, man, it was a great place to grow up. We saw deer on the way to school. We actually had a septic tank in our house in Los Angeles.
Did your parents garden?
Yeah, well, yeah. Like I was telling my son when I was talking to him, I says, this is, my grandmother raised 4 children during the Depression as a single mom. Her husband was killed in an industrial accident. And my aunts, uncle, my mom never knew the Depression happened. Because she had a garden, she had goats for milk, she had chickens, she made all their clothes out of feed bags, and they had everything. And they never knew the Depression happened. And in Los Angeles, we had a huge garden. acre property. You know, we grew all of our food. We go out in the spring on the hillsides and pick mustard greens. You know, so it's a lifestyle to me. I don't know anything else. You know, so it's how I think we should all live. You know, so it's now you see how this is going over here, and so I can just take this again center out and open up all that space. You see, all of a sudden, just that freed up all that clutter.
This is really pretty liberating, Paul, because I've always, you know, your one is always like, well, don't cut too much, don't cut too much,
and that like I say, these ones I take, you know, down to their stump, and they come back. So so many things we're being told aren't real. You know, and I'm coming to the reality that if I don't see it in nature, I'm being lied to, because nature's showing us what's really real. And you think of all the things you're told, you know, there's no cultivation in nature. There's no fertilizing happening in nature. There's no crop rotations happening in nature. There's no weeding happening. All these crazy things we're doing and slaves to do aren't natural. There's no reason for them. And it's so awesome to get free. Like, why do you do that? There's no reason for that. And it's actually, you know, in most cases they're not beneficial. Get in here and get this last piece and get in this tree. Now you see, this is going to, in light of where I'm standing, this is going to be hard to pick fruit from later. Going up. And then we're going to use a ladder. Done.
looks like bonsai tree.
Huh?
It looks like bonsai tree.
Well, do you remember who my inspiration was? Japanese gardeners.
Yeah.
That's who does
Yeah.
these bonsai.
Yeah.
You ever, to me, bonsais are amazing. They're, they have plants in pots for 25, 50 years, and they're great. Well, you know how they do that? They're pruning roots.
Right.
They do the same thing on the root system they do on the top. You know, and it's all, you know, it's all this mastering of pruning. It's just, they're the best. They're incredible.
Can we talk about the roots for just a minute here?
Mhm.
Okay, so so you've pruned. If the tree had been left to grow, would the root system be commensurate with that? Is the root system staying in check now, or is it just continuing out as
You
it
weren't here
would
on
have?
tours,
No.
but I have a plum tree over here, and he can tell you this. These are all dwarf trees.
Yeah.
You know how they create dwarf trees? They graft into a rootstock that don't develop roots. And because you have a small root system, you have a dwarf tree. It can't get big. I have a little 9-year-old dwarf plum that have root suckers coming out 30-foot radius, not diameter,
You told me
radius
about
from
this
the
on
trunk.
phone, yeah.
And it's all about this material it's living in. This is a porous, oxygen-filled, nutrient-dense, amazing environment. And roots aren't going to stop growing. And you see, when you prune, that's a stimulant. Pruning is a stimulant for growth. The Creator says his Father prunes so that they bear more fruit. And what my sense is that, you know, when you get an injury to your body, how your whole immune system just comes, everything starts moving, white blood cells. It's amazing how the whole body is moved to bring healing to that place. I think the same thing's happening here. When I create a cut, I create a wound. And everything in the tree is just motivated to bring healing and restoration to it. So again, it's just, you know, so many things are opposite how we think, you think that pruning is a negative, but it's actually a stimulant. It's the most powerful thing you could do to promote growth and fruit production, which to the mind thinks like, well, wait a minute, I'm taking away from. I'm reducing. No, I'm not. I'm increasing. Have you know what fruit spurs are? You've heard the term fruit spurs?
I haven't.
Anyway, if you look at the buds, see these really thick buds? Those are fruit spurs. You see these really small?
Yeah.
Look, those are leaves. So all these thick buds, that's where fruit happens. See all the thick pieces? See those? Fruit spurs.
Okay.
See
This
that?
is spur, this is spur.
That's fruit spur, yeah.
Here too and here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you see these little flat ones, those are all leaves.
Okay.
You know, so this is where the fruit's going to happen. You know, so many times when you're pruning, you know, you look, you know, I don't particularly, but you know, if I got nice fruit spurs, I'll cut back to those because that's going to be fruit. That's the beauty of you know, things that grow back. Is just, you know, nothing's ever lost. We're always. See, we're crowded here. Now you see see how I cut this? I'm cutting at the angle that my bud's coming off of. You see that? You see I didn't cut that flat across.
Yeah, right.
So that when it heals over, so look, I didn't cut there. See, the art of pruning is hiding your cuts. So when you cut, be creative. Cut them in ways that look like you cut it like it just grew that way. You know.
Now, Paul, why do you prune in January?
I'm learning in life, and it's taken me a while. I'm sad it took me so long, is that life should be convenient. January is a convenient time to prune because there's no leaves on the trees, there's no garden to maintain, no lawn to mow, and I have time. It's convenient. Having the leaves out of the trees really makes things more accessible. You know, it's just you can get right to it. There's nothing else going on today, so why not prune? But I prune all year, like I said. In the summer, I take all my suckers off, so there's no limit to when you can. But for me, this is the most convenient time to do it.
It doesn't have anything to do with the dormancy of the tree or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've done them all year long. 'Cause, you know, many times I'm an arborist, so many times people call me when they're full of fruit because they didn't prune, branches break, so I got to adjust the whole tree to the break. And it's full of fruit. Well, it's the time you shouldn't do it, but I've never seen any problem. They come back just fine. You know, so I don't see any time when you can't prune.
Okay.
There's no, like, you know, you're limited. When it's convenient and you're up to it, go for it. Now, this is getting pretty low, so I gotta keep trying to get my trees up. I so enjoy doing everything opposite everybody else has to do. Everybody else is trying to bring trees down. You know, they're always getting ladders and trying to shorten them, and I'm trying to get mine up. Now this is just getting low to the ground. It's heading back in, so I want to eliminate some weight and try to get some elevation here. Can we talk about tools?
Not yet.
There's only two tools you want to have for pruning. Is a hand pruner and this saw. These saws are made in Japan, and they have an edge like nothing. I wear gloves not because I'm cold, because man, if I get through the cut too quick and I hit myself, I have major holes. This thing is really sharp.
Who makes it?
And if you look at the Japanese, I want you to come over here and look at the finish. It's like 800 grit sandpaper, man. It's so smooth. It's just amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
They have like 3 edges on here. If you ever get one and you want to sharpen it, don't have anybody try to do it because they can't.
Right. Yeah.
Just
I
get
have
a-
Japanese tools.
Get
myself.
a new blade. They're amazing.
Yeah.
You know. And these Felco pruners, these are made. These come with red plastic handles. Those have worn off years ago, but these last forever,
Yeah,
and they're
they're
really
good.
well made. And that steel is a lot harder than anything in the U.S. So those 2 tools, and you're good. And you're good. So it's just I love things that are simple and easy and just not cluttered. And the Scabbard's so handy because it's it's right there, so you don't have to hang tools up and have them fall.
What's your puppy's name?
Her name is Tova. T-O-V-A. It's Hebrew. It means good. And another dog I have over here with the sheep over there. Her name is Tirza. She's a golden retriever. She's a really nice dog.
She just stays with the sheep?
Yeah, she is because those sheep aren't mine, and we have coyotes here, and they come in at night, and she's really great at keeping them out.
So she stays there all night?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and she's just really awesome, man. They come out. My brother he lives in Swim, and he just lost one of his sheep to a coyote, and it was sad too. He was a little fetus, his little baby, and the coyote just really it was terrible. But Tears of man, I hear her out there every night barking, and she runs them off.
Well, that's a nice relationship with your neighbor too, to have that, your dog being there for the sheep.
Yeah, she's not a neighbor. She lives in town, but she raises them for wool, and her pastures never hold up long enough for for the sheep. And I keep telling her, man, what's so awesome about these wood chips is that pasture's never fertilized or watered, but the runoff from here, because I'm on a grade, feeds all that. And in the summertime this year, when it was a major drought, my grass was green, and it was just like totally awesome with no irrigation. It was just so cool. So she's having to pay like $20 a bale for hay, so it really saves her a lot of money. And she usually she takes them out of here in October, but she's just she's still here.
You have a chipper to chip up these things?
No, I don't. I it's so hilarious. You'd think that I'd have a chipper. I'm an arborist, and I create brush every day. But the creator told me that I don't have a chipper. And one day I realized why. We were over that my kids were homeschooled, and part of their schooling was learning how to work, because people don't know how to work. It's a training process. And so I was taking this big tree out in Sunland to develop over here and swim. And across the street, a tree service was doing the same thing. And as soon as the branches hit the ground, my son had them in my truck like instantly. When I got out of the tree, everything was in the truck. These guys were dragging all their brush out to the street, making this big pile. They started the chipper one branch at a time. And I'm realizing how much slower that is. And they're listening to all that noise, breathing the exhaust. It's very slow to chip. I'm thinking I just run it off to the dump. The guy grinds it up, sells it, and I get all those wood chips from the chipper tree service because they want to get rid of them. So it's just more convenient for me not to have one.
So you have a good source for wood chips there.
Yeah, this guy here, over at Swim is I'm sure over 100 yards of wood chips. It's just keeps bringing them in, from me because it's just so convenient for him.
Is he Blue Mountain?
Blue Mountain, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's really a neat guy. I really like him. And he's been bringing me wood chips for probably 15, 17 years now. I'm gonna retract here. I'm looking like this is just getting too full.
Do you do this with ornamental trees?
Everything.
Okay.
You prune everything. It's all arrangement.
Okay.
Basically, it's all so the whole idea with the rose cut back to it's all stupid. All the things they tell you is stupid. It's simply arranging. You prune everything the same way. Clean cuts to the collar and where you want it to fit. You know, it's just, I love truth. It's simple. I came across the most amazing quote this year. It was just really, really blessed me. This guy said that most people think that what is hard to understand, difficult to comprehend, is profound. This is incorrect. What is difficult to understand is immature, unclear, and mostly false. I love that. And this is what really, really just blessed me. He says, true wisdom is simple, and it moves from the brain directly to the heart.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Simple. True wisdom is simple. It's not complicated. And all this hard stuff they tell us, man, isn't truth.
Yeah, it's the brain through the heart to the hands.
Yeah. If it stops at the brain, it's not what you want.
Trouble.
Got to go to the heart.
So that branch that you just did, coming down there.
Uh-huh.
So this little one here will come out.
This is a fruit spur.
That's a fruit spur, and that's a fruit spur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now this is because it's going up. I didn't see it,
Okay.
so it's out of there because I just don't want things going up. See, up
Okay.
isn't working.
Paul, one of my River Faye wanted to know, she lives in Missouri, and she has one of her apple trees that still has 8 green leaves on it. Is that because she put wood chips down?
And it could be because it's been a mild winter. I don't know, you know, there's multiple reasons, but I wouldn't worry about them. They'll come off in time. But I know that my leaves stay on my trees a lot longer than my neighbors. You know, and they're putting on new growth like in August, September, new growth coming on. Like acting like we're not slowing down because they're healthy, they're vigorous. See how I just bring this is my line. So you know, again, you look at what's going to be where you want it to finish, and that's where you're focused on. Now you see, this is getting kind of crowded in here, and so this is big. This is I want to be able to get in here. And when this is out, I'm going to.
So that makes it feel better.
Yeah, you can almost, and you see, I can walk in here. Before, I just had no access to this space.
when they are.
Well, I'm not going to be afraid of attacking my trees now.
Yeah, and again, this is the reality is they're going to grow back.
Yeah.
You know, and especially when you get wood chips, it's amazing how much they grow back. And it's just like, what? It's just phenomenal the amount of growth that comes on every year. Now this is going to be interesting. What I'm leaving is just, it's just going to be this. See, it's coming out where I want, and so this is a good fruit spur. So I'm looking at what I want to finish with, So all the rest is just clutter. And so you spot something like that's where I want it. It's going to finish. So get rid of all the stuff in its way around it. And see, it's so different from the approach how most people are putting it out there. Kind of looking at it as having to make a bigger. Well, look at detail. Look at
You don't leave little pieces on the ground?
Oh,
I mean,
that's okay, but I don't. I was trained to pay attention to detail. My mom was so amazing, man, how she could just see, and my kids, we used to have weed in my orchard. I says, now if I can find 3 weeds in a minute, you're not done. And they were shocked, man. How do you see that? I was trained to pay attention to detail, It's training.
And now you want the weeds to grow in your orchard.
Well, this is all feed for my chickens. So I come out here every few days and stuff and pull these to work our way across. This is all good produce for my chickens. And most chickens this time of year don't have greens. They're eating dead grain.
Yeah.
And so my chickens are very happy. So this is the beauty of when you start getting connected. You see that everything has a purpose. Nothing's wasted. Nothing's wrong. It's all useful. And, I got some people living over at my place, and they're picking this chickweed every day for salad. Loving it. That stuff is really good. It tastes great. Very, see, this is a graft I did last year. See here, let me tell you about, did I ever show you about grafting?
Not yet.
If you ever read books about grafting, they make it really hard. They have this paste you got to put on, and then you have to have these pins to try to hold it in place, and it's really hard. I asked the creator about grafting. He told me black tape, and here's the black.
An electrical tape?
Yeah, you wrap it tight. It holds everything in place so it's not moving. It keeps all the air out so it can't dry out, because it's black when the sun hits it, they heal quicker. And this is growing great.
So do you cut it at an angle?
Here's what you do.
Let
me show you. I'll just do a really quick one here just to show you how easy this is. It's so fun. I just love asking the creator because he makes it so, things are so easy, and all the stuff that they teach you is really hard. So, let's say we're going to graft this right here.
Wait, hold on, let me get around you.
So you cut this piece off here, and you want to make sure that the diameter of what you're grafting into and what you're grafting with is the same. Okay. So this piece you cut off, get your pruners, and you cut right in the center, and you open it up. Just like that.
You split it.
Split it. This piece here, you cut at an angle.
Right, yeah.
So you can slide in. This is I use another pruner but anyway, this will give you an idea.
Yeah.
And then you wrap the tape.
That's it.
And you're done.
He doesn't even know.
And you're done. I love it. It's just so easy. It's just like, and they all take just great,
So when you cut, it's called scion?
Cyanwood.
Cinewood. So that was a piece of cinewood.
Cinewood, yeah. You can see it's altogether different color than this. It's a whole another variety.
Okay.
And I'm going to take everything out and let it's just, but you can see it definitely is growing. That's all new growth coming on there. It's totally alive. And he was here last year where I had 8 pieces of apples on one of these. I had grafted in April, in June, thinking what, man? It's just so fun.
And when's the best time to do that?
Here's the timing
Graft.
is perfect. You take cyanwood when it's dormant. All the water's off of it.
Like now.
Right now.
Okay.
And you plug it in when the sap starts coming back in. When you start seeing buds happening, plug it in.
So you can hold on to it.
Hold on to it. Just put it. I put it in my walk-in cooler. Keep it in a cool, damp place.
Yeah.
So it doesn't dry out.
Do you wrap the end or anything?
I don't do anything. I
Nothing?
just put it in a bag and put it in there, you know. And then as soon as I start seeing my trees bloom, you know, buds starting to come out, you know, the sap's back in, I plug it in. And what's so cool, you're walking around your orchard and you're seeing all these dead sticks. Everything else is all full of leaves and stuff. And all of a sudden you come in one day and this little dead stick has got some green. It took, yay! You know, it's just a fun. It's so much of this stuff is so enjoyable because being able to propagate and do things that are just really fun. And nature's so powerful, man. It's just, it really works well. Here's something that the creator showed me about the advantage of grafting into my trees. The bee population is really reducing huge on the planet.
Yeah.
And if I don't have bees happening, because I have multiple varieties in the same trees that are blooming, the wind will cross-pollinate because they're so close.
Huh.
So there's a real asset to having...
Do you keep bees?
I don't, but I have big boxes where I encourage mason bees because they live here. See, honeybees are really nice, but they're not native.
Yeah.
And when my trees are blooming, they have honey at home. They won't come out and pollinate. So they're really not great pollinators. Where the mason bees, the natives who live here, who don't have honey, when it's cold, they come out and pollinate because they need food. And so they're a lot better pollinators than honeybees. Yeah, this is what's so nice, you know, because I have stuff, you know, I have winter heather. I make a point to have something blooming here all year long. So there's always something to attract bees. And, you know, just, I mean, my cucumbers, I mean, they're so there, you know, when you have good, you know, good food for them. You know, they're just such an essential part of production. You know? You see how that just, you know, it was so fun. You know, you look at like places where you can make adjustments and everything just fits, you know, and looks good. It's like, yeah. Pruning is very satisfying.
Yeah.
Very satisfying. As any art is, of course, you know.
Yeah, my son Peter and I have been doing it together for the last 3 or 4 years now. You know, we decided it's going to make a difference doing it like this, though.
Yeah. Well, and to me, it's just, you know, it's so satisfying to walk away from something that looks nice. You just feel, you know, like so fulfilled, like, yeah, that was, you know, I accomplished something really nice today. We were made for this. Now you see here, this at the end, you know, died back a little bit, so I'm going to cut back to some nice growth there.
And that's one of the ones that you grafted.
That's a cyanwood, yeah. That's a new variety. And it's kind of attractive to walk through on your same tree. You've got red and yellow apples, same trees.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool looking, you know.
There's a picture on the internet of some tree that has 40 different varieties of.
Cool. Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
I have some gardening friends, and they say they're worried about the wood chips, you know, with nitrogen and all kinds of stuff like that. You know, taking up the nitrogen.
Well, here's what you tell your friends. You ask them, where on the planet is the most fertile soil? Act like your friend. Where is it? In the forest.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking prairies.
Prairies aren't as fertile as forests.
Really?
Not even close. How is that soil in the forest created?
Yeah, well,
By needles, leaves, and twigs.
right.
Wood chips.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Right.
If you go out into the forest, here's the irony of the insanity they tell you in school. They tell you that wood chips type nitrogen make your soil acidic. If If you go out in the forest and test the pH, it's 7.0. Perfect balance. I have over here in my garden blueberries, and right next to it lavender. The opposite. Lavender is alkaline, blueberry is acid, and they're growing side by side fine because it's 7.0. I just love nature.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Well, I just kind of ignored everybody
Well,
else.
I'm just
I
telling
watched your
you,
video
when
and I
people ask questions, go back to nature.
Yeah.
Look how green those fir trees are.
Yeah.
Are we having a nitrogen tie-up?
No.
And that's all, the whole thing that's supporting those is wood chips, needles, leaves, and twigs.
Right.
I mean, come on. What you're saying isn't real. You know when you get the nitrogen tie-up is when you till it in. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They till it in, and of course you have a nitrogen tie-up. Nothing's tilled in nature. Leave it alone. Lay it on top of the ground and get out of there.
Building up from the top, yeah.
Well, here's the genius of the creative when you think about it. This stuff laying on the, compost tea right now is a rage in agriculture. It's because it really works. It's really good fertilizer. And people pay money for it, but when they apply it, second or third watering, it's gone. It's beyond the resistance out of there because gravity works. This wood chip's laying on the ground every time it rains, it gets a compost tea release. So 24/7, 365 days a year, my plants have maximum food. Because gravity works.
Right.
When you start tracking with the design, you think like, man, this is genius. It's like, duh, amazing. So if you want compost tea, just put wood chips in the ground. You'll have it forever. You don't have to buy it.
Right.
So
You don't have to make compost piles.
Compost piles are a pain because it's in a place you don't want them. And if you look at the grass around it, it's the greenest in the whole place because all your compost is running off in a place you don't want it. Put it where it's going to end up and get out of there. Again, nature, no one shows up to work. And everything works great. It's just like, it's so bizarre how we just, we're given all these lies that are usually connected to something you have to buy that don't work. And we live with it, It's just like, it's stupid. Really, And you'll always, like I tell people a lot of times on tour, because when you start doing this, don't talk to anybody. Because if you do, they'll all tell you it won't work. Just don't talk to anybody. Just do it, and then when they come and ask, what's happening, tell them.
Right.
But
that's a good point.
if you tell people, they'll all tell you, oh, that won't work. You can't do that.
What's your bush over there that has the two different colors at the same time of the year? Over there on the front left?
Oh, it's a hydrangea. Hydrangea.
Uh-huh.
I had a. This is hilarious. I had this PhD, and he wanted me to know he was a PhD biologist. PhD.
Yeah.
And usually when they come, they have a kind of an arrogant attitude, and they tell me that what I'm doing won't work. And I really love that. I says, well, let's walk around and see how it's not working. And I'm pointing out things to him, and the guy's just flipping out like he says, there's no way you get celery this big without fertilizer. I says, sir, I've never fertilized. He says, I don't believe you. I'm going to come back and test your soil. Oh, good. I've never had a soil test. I want to see one. So he comes back with his little black bag, and he tests my soil in my wood chips. You know what the pH was? 7.0, and the guy's flipping out because he's told in school that wood chips type nitrogen make your soil acidic.
Right.
And he's testing all over. All he's getting is 7.0. And he's thinking something's wrong with his device. I says, no, it's not. There's something wrong with your training. And so I says, and I started rubbing it. I says, now, PhD biologists, come on, I'm going to show you something. I want you to explain this to me. How come hydrangeas, if you have acid soil, the flowers are blue.
Right.
If they're alkaline, they're pink. And so I says, PhD biologists, help me here. How come on my same hydrangea in your face, I have both pink and blue flowers? He's sitting there with his mouth hanging open. He's not talking. He says, excuse me, you're a PhD biologist. You know everything. Aren't you going to tell me why? And I said, I'll tell you why. Because the pH is 7.0 and its center both happen. And he got up and left.
Oh, he did? He couldn't
I'll
have
tell you
that.
why. His whole degree, his whole
That he
life
paid
is
for.
based on a lie. Yeah, that's reality. And he couldn't handle it. He just left.
Have you ever heard from him again?
No, never came back. You see, the problem with this...
Now, if he was a scientist worth his salt, he'd pay attention.
He'd want to
Try
know.
learn something.
Yeah, exactly. But the bottom line is the problem with this whole concept is there's nothing to sell. You can't make money on it. It's all free.
You don't even need the soil testing kit, which you paid for
Yeah.
too.
You need nothing. And see, that's what really pushes everybody away from it. There's no money. You can't make anything. Which I just love about the creator, because he made everything free. And it's really cool. You know, I've come, you know, I've shared people, is most of the things you're taught in school and all these things you're told you have to do are usually connected to something you have to buy. Really, you know, and that's by design. It's intent. They want to, you know, enslave you and make you support their system. I have my neighbor across the street. He's a medical doctor, and he's very real. He says allopathic medicine was never designed for healing. You can't make money on it. Allopathic medicine is all about maintaining illness.
Right.
Maintaining it. You know, and he's a doctor. He's just very real. I think it's awesome. And these women will bring their kids to him that have asthma, and he'll tell them, get them off of wheat and dairy right now. No more wheat and dairy. And so they get ready to leave, and so the mothers ask them, aren't you going to give us a prescription? I just gave you one. You're going to get your kids off of wheat and dairy. A couple of weeks, he says, I can't believe it, doctor. My kids are well. You didn't give me any medication. Well, I just told you how to live.
Your neighbors gonna kind of pay attention to what you're doing here?
Some do, some don't. Again, it's hard for people who, especially the ones who've been educated, because they know better. You know what I'm saying? They know that what I'm doing won't work. I mean, really, they know. It's pathetic, but that's the reality.
Well, even the ones that do pay attention don't fully grasp it, like your neighbor over there with the wood chips on top of the
landscape cloth.
Oh, he puts
with the weeds coming through it.
landscape cloth, and then he puts the wood chips on?
Here's the insanity of landscape cloth. It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's labor intensive to apply. Always when it's there, the ends always show up and it's always a mess. Whatever you put on top of it, whether it's wood chips, bark, dirt, gravel, weeds grow fine on top of the landscape cloth, in whatever you put on top of it. So they don't stop weeds. And the irony is, I use this as an example, is I have a rhododendron over there, right under my sequoia tree, where the roots of sequoia are under the rhododendron and it's thriving. And right across the fence, their rhododendron is totally nothing. And has wood chips, but it has landscape cloth. And all the life from the wood chips can't get to the roots because the landscape cloth is stopping it. So this is like counterproductive. This is not even like neutral. This is like in my face counterproductive, and I paid for this stuff. Like, it's crazy, man.
I know Carol knows it. I just figured that anybody, Carol knows it. Carol knows everybody.
She knows everybody and I don't. It's because we're really, I'm kind of recluse.
Yeah.
I go nowhere, I know no one. She knows everybody. So we're different that way. And you know what's so hilarious for her? Because it always used to be, well, you know, Paul's the husband of the midwife.
Right.
She goes to Australia, to New Zealand, to Europe. And people will come to this, Carol, you know this guy Paul Gautschi?
Yeah.
And she just busts up.
I heard about this guy Paul Gautschi. Do you know him?
She just busts up. I says, that's your husband? She's like, yeah, it used to be he was the husband of the midwife, but now I'm the husband of the gardener. I'm the wife of the gardener.
Well, that's a good partnership.
Yeah. It was really awesome for her. She was in Israel this last year, and she's teaching a class on the importance of nutrition, you know, for birth, you know, and just really showing that this like critical. And this woman gets up at the end of her talk, says, "I gotta share." Says, we saw her husband's film 3 years ago. My family was really sick. We had all kinds of issues, and I'm telling you, man, we've been growing our own food, and we're all well. This works. It was really good.
Tell me that there's, you know, the remarkable difference in color in your vegetable garden.
Oh, major difference. I'm glad you asked. the what's in my garden is all coming out of my chicken pen on my
Okay.
yard waste.
Okay.
See, all these weeds, all my expired plants, everything goes to the chickens, and they eat it, and they turn it back
Okay.
into that beautiful black
Okay.
compost in my garden.
So this is step 1, chicken step 2, step 3.
And why the chicken thing's happening? The Creator brought to my attention I'm not walking well, and I may not be able to haul wood chips to my garden.
Yeah.
And He wanted me to get that everything I need is local. And for the rest of my life, just because of my yard waste, my grass clippings, everything out of the garden, everything out of my house, going to my chickens, will create the material that's in my garden forever. And all I need is a wheelbarrow and a screen and a shovel. I'm good for life.
Yeah.
No gas, no truck. And so these are just revelations, things I'm getting by being in a space and having losing mobility, getting like it's really easier than you think.
Yeah.
And it's all local.
Yeah.
This is the design, how it's made.
When you put the chicken
It's compost.
compost on, do you just put it on
I
the
dump
top?
it in wheelbarrows, bring my rake and grate it out.
But you never like,
If you notice in nature, the
oh,
Creator
that's layers
never
to it.
does that.
Okay. Yeah, silly me.
But my point, we have to start, again, we were trained not to think. Our public school education trained us not to think. And we need to start breaking that mindset and start paying attention to what's happening and observe. Because it's really very simple, all free, and works quite well. And when you realize the only tool I use in this whole place is a rake, it just makes it really convenient. And all the stuff I used to do to till and to work and to dig and fight and just struggle isn't part of design.
That's not the plan.
It's not the plan. And I'm realizing I have an adversary. Someone's trying to rip me off. And it's not good. And I need to start paying attention because it's not how it's supposed to be. Again, it's just so fun when you start and just, out here pulling these weeds. Just look at this, for example. Pull that weed apart. Get down to the ground. Get the whole thing. Now watch the soil around you, how far out it's moving.
Yeah.
Look at those roots. Look at the density of beautiful root system.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when I'm pulling weeds, when I used to pull weeds in dirt, I didn't see roots
Yeah,
like
you
that.
had one thing down there that would break off.
And so I'm looking at it thinking like, this is awesome. And then look at the material.
Mm-hmm.
Totally soft, uncompacted, not worn out, like that weed wasn't there. Or in my garden, it was hard and compacted when I pull it out. So just in this contact with it, you get such revelations that's like, wow, this is amazing. I get so off on that root system. That just is like huge. That doesn't happen in dirt.
Mm-mm.
And this is happening in material that if I go to school tell me nothing grows in. And it ties up nitrogen, makes my soil acidic. I'm thinking like, nitrogen type? Look at that green in January. Come on. That's not a nitrogen type. That's maximum nitrogen.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching my brain just being erased of all these lies and realizing like, this is awesome.
Right.
This is like the max. This is like really how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the beauty is I didn't do anything. It just happens.
Right.
So it's just such an incredible like revelation. Just wakes you up like, yeah. One thing about gravesenes, if you're grafting, don't graft gravesene into anything but a gravesene because they grow much faster and bigger than any other tree. If you notice, look at the size of these.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just huge. So you get real imbalance. You can graft anything into a gravesene. Don't graft gravesene into something else because it'll take over.
Okay.
It's just utterly scary to me as I encounter adults who do not know how to work. How to. They're willing to. They don't know how. They were never trained. They went to public school. You don't taught how to work at school. It's just scary, man. All my kids are homeschooled, and it's so fun watching them. My older son is in Los Angeles. He's actually in Venice Beach. He works in the movie industry. But in his spare time, he's teaching at UCLA. In his spare time. Homeschooled kid teaching scientists and doctors at UCLA. I think it's hilarious. My younger son, is world known as a photographer.
His work is incredible.
It's amazing. And he never went to school. He just picked up a camera one day. His mom told him to pick it up and try it, see what he can do, and just discovered he has an amazing gift. And it's just awesome, you know. I look at these poor people who are paying incredible, have these student loans that are in major debt for. And they don't know anything. It's pathetic. And if you look at our history throughout time, people who were really good learned from masters. Those are their mentors. Those who taught them. And that was their credential. Oh, you learned from so and so. Oh, you're going to be good because they were. That's how stuff's learned, not from. And the irony is that these teachers that are teaching in school aren't good at what they're doing. Otherwise, they'd be doing it. They're not good. And you're paying for some novice to teach you in a sterile setting when you're not doing it. It's just stupid, really. And they get in debt. It's just it's just blows my mind. I had the most interesting experience. I get, like I said, people come here. This young woman came from North Carolina, drove all the way out here in her car. She's young. I just want to come and learn from you. It's okay, come on out. So she came out, and so I went over. I was showing about pruning. And I says, now, I want to show you why you shouldn't go to college. And she's thinking, like, really? Yeah, you don't want to go there. The people that teach aren't good. And so I went over to, I did my little Japanese maple. It's not Japanese, it's a vine maple in the back. And so I whacked off this branch and I showed her how people prune. Just whacked all the ends off. And she says, yeah, that's how it looks. I says, that's how the professionals that charge people money prune. Does that look good to you? No. And so I got in the tree and I started showing her how to do it. She's blown away how I'm totally shortening this tree and making it look beautiful, looking like I didn't do anything. She says, that's incredible. Look at that huge thing you took out. It looks like you didn't do anything. I was there for 20 minutes and she says, I could do this. I understand. I said, look at me. 20 minutes costs you nothing and you're walking away with an understanding and ability because you watched the master.
How do you keep the hawks away from your chickens?
My dogs.
Oh, the dogs.
I had an eagle once came in there. It was killing him. And I put the dog in the chicken pen. And it was amazing, man. How that dog totally kept him out.
Yeah, we've lost so many chickens from hawks and owls and
Yeah, they're
coyotes and
hard on them.
boy.
Yeah, having a good dogs really, I couldn't. I mean, the deer would destroy my place if I didn't have those dogs here.
So they kind of roam around and.
Well, they're just outside, and this is their home. And
Oh, they're outside dogs. They don't go in the house.
Oh yeah, man. At night they're out here every night barking because the deer are here. They want to eat my food. Right. Did you go out there and dig in that?
Yeah.
You saw how
In the chicken coop.
chicken pen, that incredible
that's
soil.
That's amazing stuff.
And so this is all. What I love about it is that this is all created by them. You think of it like if you have a compost, you're out there trying to move it. You don't get that. This is all their little feet homogenize that stuff all day long, man, for free. It's just it's a system superior to anything you could ever do on your own.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink my chickens now. So.
Yeah, because it's just to me it's like a resource. And the beauty about the chickens is that nothing ever goes to waste. You don't eat something in the house, give it to the chickens. So nothing's wasted. That's what I really like about it.
So you put horse bedding in there in the chickens?
Inside the chicken house.
Yeah, in the
that's
chicken
horse
house.
bedding. Because if you don't have something on the floor, that manure will compact to the ground and you'll never move it again. So you have to have something on the floor to keep the manure from compacting. And the horse, basically it's wood shavings and horse manure.
Yeah.
It really makes a nice material. And then, every spring I take it out and it's just a nice resource for the garden. They really homogenize all this stuff really nice into it. And so it's all reusable. Yeah. And again, you look at nature. Nature's all about recycling. Nothing's ever wasted.
Right.
It brings back the dirt. The system's really quite well thought out, and it really makes sense to copy it. You realize it. It works quite well.
Now watch out for the smell when you go over by the chicken coop.
We have chickens ourselves, so I know what chickens smell like.
That's gonna be funny.